see things in that particular line there, because the Honorable Finance Minister has said he's going to rationalize a lot of the taxes, a lot of these things. He's going to make our ports free and all that. But people are saying that when you do that, then how are we then going to get revenue to actually run the country?
That's another question, a big one.
So we are going to see a lot of these things when it comes to the business segment, when it comes to the main segment. We'll be discussing the 2020 budgets. So viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be talking about that in detail.
Okay, so up next is the online newspaper print review. Today I'm in Ghana. I want to speak. All right, so please definitely. Do and enjoy.
Definitely, yeah.
Ghana be Achemike Adede, and I welcome you to CLOG TV. This March, we are celebrating Ghana Month by showcasing our richness in our culture and heritage.
I need my gun, Kane. I need the gun. You will have the gun as soon.
Sid.
How have you been?
Okay. You?
Good. Better.
Government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is.
They say if you to broadcast or other.
If you just joined us, this is the Cocoa Digest Morning Show here on CLOG TV, and it's time for online print review. I have with me here Nanaya Osari and Peter. How are you, Mr. Nsian?
I'm doing very well. We are doing well too.
I'm doing great, as you can see. I'm like a queen mother in the fall. Yeah. Thank you so much. You look pretty too in your colorful cricket thing. All right, Naneo.
As always, I am up and I'm grateful.
Yeah, up and tired. Not.
That's also another way to look at it. But yes, as always, It's a pleasure to come to the screens, the phones, the TV sets of our viewers to bring them the best when it comes to the morning shows. So yes, I'm excited. Can't wait to get started with this.
So I earlier mentioned that we've been cladded and beautifully dressed by Naju Oshedu Obolojuete, Queen of La Agbawe. Thanks so much, Queen Mother. We are grateful for making our sets very colorful. It's now time to review what is trending in the news and also on the newspapers. On the front page of the Daily Graphic, we have food alert. Most processed tomato impure. So that's from a nutritionist, and let me read a bit of this for the viewers. It says that most of the processed tomato products on Ghanaian markets are not pure tomato paste, but tomato mixture, a registered nutritionist has revealed. That is to be continued on the page 3 of the front of the newspaper. We also have here Professor Bokpin, IEA supports abolition of taxes, but argue betting tax be maintained. That's also on the page 13 of the graphic. We move to the next one. English Alata Paramount Chief inducted into House of Chiefs. That's on page 29 of the Daily Graphic. And finally, 10-acre sites retrieved from Galamseyas in Ashanti region. The good news. And we'll be talking about Galamsey and the issues that are popping up recently. So we'll delve with this later. Hi, Peter. What is trending?
Okay, so in the world of business, it's evident that today, as Article 179 of the Constitution requires the President to present government budgets, he has instructed the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasoa, to force in. And so today, at exactly 10 a.m., he will be presenting the budget, the most anticipated. Ghanaians, we are all waiting.
Charlie, I'm eagerly waiting. I don't know why I'm so anxious.
Especially on the betting aspect, the 3 taxes.
Oh, but you didn't hear Professor Bokpin of IEA saying that he supports abolition of taxes, but the betting tax must be maintained. And I heard the from your end.
So Professor Bokpin, when I was in the University of Ghana, in and around that time, Godfred Bokpin, he was in the finance department, very renowned man, and he's done quite an extensive job when it comes to the finance and then the economics. He's a very top person in that particular line. But you know, some of these things, whenever they are raised as to whether they are going to be scrapped, they are going to be cancelled and all that, it actually causes a lot of people to actually think and then say, are we sure there's a lot of feasibility around this? Because we were told that e-levy, betting tax and all these ones that were introduced were supposed to be sort of as a replacement or a buffer for the road tolls that we were having. Because the road tolls, we said, was generating in and around 2.4 billion Ghana cedis every month. And then now, thinking about this, the e-levy and all that was generating maybe somewhat significantly higher. So are we now then going to go back into this particular thing? Is the betting tax really a nuisance tax, or it's something that's necessary, it helps the economy? Because as well, people are complaining that if you do not tax the people, government will not get revenue. And government also gets revenue so that the people will benefit from it. But if you don't tax the people, the money is still staying with the people. So there are different schools of thoughts on this particular one as to whether the betting tax should remain or it should be taken away. But I'm sure Professor Godfrey Bokpin has some valid reasons why he thinks it should be there. But I'm sure a lot of the youth think otherwise.
All right. So yesterday, betting tax was trending, but the story is different on X Space. Today, Daddy Lumba is trending, and King Charles is also trending. Daddy Lumba, we know, has his song, is it Impim Pim Wodo, one of his songs is making featuring in the list of King Charles playlist, and yeah, so that's a good one for Ghana as we celebrate Ghana month. I think that Lumba has done so well in his high life music and all that, so he getting the thumbs up from King Charles, I think, is a good thing.
Of course, there's no doubt about that, and it's evident. Even Ghana here, we celebrate him a lot. When you go back and you listen to his tracks, you get to understand that, yes, this man is really a legend. And so I think it's a good step. And we need to celebrate our own before even others, come down to celebrate. And so congratulations to
Kudos to Daddy Lumba. So
there are certain people that you just cannot hate, no matter how, no matter whose fan you are. There are certain people that you cannot hate. Daddy Lumba had his rival. That's Jackie's father. What's his name? Is it Champon? Yes. And these two apparently were very good friends growing up and all that. So it brought some cult hero status. So it's like almost as though we are having Stoneboy and Shatawale and divided fan base. But this particular one was stemmed from our cultural heritage and was stemmed from the lyrics from their songs, the way they do their kutia in their songs and all that. And so he's one of those very few people that you can't say it, no matter who you are, and not just because of his talent, but because of his charisma and where he has actually placed Ghana music on the map. So it's well deserved when people like the King of England is listening to him, because he's appeared in his top searches when it comes to music.
So the title of the song is Impim Pim Domi. That was a 2008 High Life classic. Congrats once again to Daddy Lumba for making strides, great ones, on the international front. Thank you so much for putting us up there. And also, yesterday, CLOG reiterated their affirmation and their stance when it comes to their strike action. They are saying that until something is done, they still strike.
So this particular issue, right, if I may come in before Peter says something, but this particular issue is something that should have been dealt and done with a long time ago, because there's nowhere that it isn't clear. It's as though the government or the government of the day, their ego has been bruised by the fact that they didn't know that this thing that they were doing was wrong, and then they've actually, because when you listen to Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, his earlier presses, when he came out and he mentioned that they should show us the area of law, tell us why you think that the president cannot appoint, and then they came back, CLOG came back and said that we are not telling you that you cannot appoint. You can appoint. The president can appoint because he has the power. Article 191 says it. Article 195 further reiterates it. But then what we are actually saying is that you do not have the power to appoint a politically exposed person, someone who has shown overtly that he's affiliated to a political party. You cannot appoint that particular person into a civil service role. And then they wanted to challenge the law to say that the birth and death registry or the position of the birth and death registrar isn't a civil service organization or a position.
That's what they said.
Because it's been decentralized. But then again, you are flawed on that particular one, because it is a civil service institution. The birth and death registry, the act that came out not long ago, was not talking about the registry, but I was talking about the registration, was talking about decentralizing the registration. And even when you even look at the composition of what the Constitution defines as civil service or a civil servant, it goes to talk about the fact that they are civil local government staff. So even if it is decentralized to the local government level, it's still a civil servant position. And then the ruling of the Supreme Court that came out in 2017,
about neutrality.
Yes, about neutrality, anonymity, and permanence. From the Supreme Court, right? It was ruled. All the judges, 7 judges, ruled in favor of the fact that a politician or a civil servant are not supposed to engage in politics. Now, if that's the case, then why do politicians now come and then enter civil service roles? It's not.
It's serious because
It's something
you know,
that we need to actually talk about and educate people, because a lot of people are still going around and saying that the strike is not warranted, the strike is not beneficial to anyone. But if you should actually think through why the strike is really important, because some people say that, oh, how does it even affect our pay? Now, when you put these politicians in the higher positions in civil service, because when they come in, they are going to come into the higher positions of civil service. Now, when it's time for negotiation, it's time for affirmative action, when it's time for organizing, these politicians are your bosses. And you cannot do that in their offices, because you are making them look bad for in front of who they respond to or who appointed them in office. So if it is a civil service role, it should be for civil servants. Take away politics from the civil service, because since time immemorial, it's the civil service that has stood the test of time. When the government will come, governments will go, but the civil service will remain the same. So when this particular person comes and then leaves after 4 years, he leaves with all the institutional memory. He leaves with all the experience that he's gathered. Mind you, he's not going to come alone. He's going to come with his own personal assistants. He's going to come with his own people that are going to sort of help him in his office. And then these roles, the trainings that civil servants are supposed to go for, the trainings that local government staff are supposed to go for, maybe the exchange programs, just to acquire knowledge, to build the service. They don't go for those trainings because it is going to be taken by these personal assistants. It's going to be taken by all these people. So when they go on those particular trainings and all that, now you realize that, hey, after 4 years, if there's a change in government, then they leave with all that information, with all that knowledge that they've gathered.
It's very
from.
serious.
So if you keep sitting down and then you think that, oh, they should just allow him to do it, it's nothing, you're shooting your own self in your foot. And CLOG reaffirmed the strike because they met with the Honorable Minister for Jobs, Labour, and yes. And then it wasn't, the feedback that came from that particular meeting was not fruitful. So government is wrong.
But I remember we sat here and we said that the minister has asked them to provide them with a formal statement so he can meet the president and talk about this particular issue to find solutions to it. So they should call off the strike before they have a constructive dialogue.
Well, once again, before Peter, you come in. I'm actually
very passionate about this particular
issue because if we do set our checks and balances right, we'll end up going into a similar cycle where the country was just not long ago. We have to safeguard certain parts of our country's institutions, like the civil service, which is an important one. Now to the question again. For the strike to be called off, right, the only thing that happened right now is for arbitration to come and set in, because that's what the Labour Commission laws and all that, when they agree to sit down for negotiations, that is when both parties will say, okay, I'm revoking my appointment. Okay, you two also revoke or call off your strike, so that we sit down, we find a way forward, and then we go. But government is not ready to revoke the appointment. So definitely it can't go for an arbitration if government is not ready to revoke the appointment.
Exactly.
So I'm very passionate when it comes to the protection, not only the civil service, but protection of government institutions. When you don't safeguard the institutions, because we've been told that we have the institutions, but it's the men that actually falter. When you don't safeguard these institutions, and you put, it's the same men who will come and corrupt these institutions. Not that the person is going to corrupt, but if you put a politically colored person into a civil service role, what then do you expect if there's a decision that unadvised because civil service servants advise decision, no matter the political coloring of the politician. So if you're now putting someone with a political color into a civil service role, then what advice are you going to give to the minister? So it's something we have to think about.
Yes. I know you have a lot to say. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak to the Executive Secretary of CLOG, and he mentioned that I asked, because people were saying that there were so many political appointments and they never spoke about it. They never made so much noise about it. Why now? So he said, yes, that is true. They did their bits. And stakeholders, that's not a one-man fight. Other stakeholders are also supposed to join in the fight of this particular position because, as you can see, I don't think government is willing to to change him.
To sort of maybe revoke the appointment so that they sit at a round table and then find out. So one thing that a lot of people are saying that the former woman that was the registrar was also politically overtly colored or showed her political overtness. Overtly showed.
I'm sure you will talk about this and more during the RCS. You have RCS coming up this week.
Well, but
we'll talk about that later. I want Peter to quickly touch
definitely.
So he mentioned earlier that they were fighting against apparatchiks and guru boys in the Ministry of Finance. He mentioned that specifically, and they pushed and pushed, but to no avail. And therefore, they don't want to sit back and watch this particular one go haywire. Why they have nothing to do about it? So they are pushing for this particular one to be revoked. So it does open the floodgates to more of these things. Peter, your contribution.
Yes, I mean, so how long is this going to take? I mean, the stands are clear. What CLOG is saying is very clear. And so right now, what I think government should do is to, like you rightly said, meet with CLOG, do the needful. Just revoke the appointment of Mr. Adonbochi, and then the right thing will be done. Because you've said everything. Whatever CLOG want to hear, they've made it clear. And the government to come back and then sit down and then, do the needful, because this can't continue. It's been almost 3 weeks.
I think from 20th February.
Yeah. So 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And then this can't be happening when we
all because of one person.
One person. As we want to restructure, reform, resetting the country, this can't be happening.
So it's not necessarily because of one person.
No, it's one person, because if you are able to do that, we prevent this thing from happening.
So then it is one person, but that one person is standing for a certain line of action. That one person is standing for it's symbolic of something. And then people were saying that when the MPP were there, they appointed a woman, and then no one said anything. But even the MPP, CLOG resisted to such an extent that they couldn't put that woman on a civil service payroll. It wasn't the that was paying her. So that's something that you have to also think about. The woman was not receiving her salary from the Controller and Accountants Department. The matter was taken to court, and then she was made to act until the matter was decided. But unfortunately, the matter wasn't decided until the 4-year tenure was over. So that's one of the reasons
they did something.
Yes, so they did something. Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to our online stories. This about Galamsey. I think last 3 weeks we were here and we spoke about Galamsey. It's here in the news again. And I read. Defense Minister Dr. Buama has issued a stern warning to miners. Stay out of Ghana's forest reserves. This comes as illegal mining continues to wreak havoc on the country's environment and ecological balance. The minister's warning follows a recent joint operation by the Forest Commission and the military, which resulted in the seizure of mining equipment and the arrest of illegal miners in the Tano Anhwea Forest Reserve. So this is the latest when it comes to Galamsey. Nanaya, I recall, prior to the elections, we made so much noise about Galamsey. We said no Galamsey, no voting. In fact, there were protests, labor unions hit the streets just to hit the drum so hard for the government to hear. And I remember the LI 2462 was supposed to be revoked. In fact, I covered a reportage on the labor union, the organized labor unions, strike action that was against Galamsey, and it was to no avail. As of now, the previous government never revoked the LI 2462, And also, we never called an emergency, a state of emergency. That was one of the requests then, that you should call a state of emergency because the destruction was massive. And last 3 weeks, we spoke about Galamsey in the Ashanti region. Today, we are speaking of Galamsey in Tano Anhia Forest Reserve, which is in the western region. So it's still ongoing. What's our ministers and the government, the president, doing about this issue?
So I think a state of emergency should be declared since all efforts to combat Galamsey has proven futile. And I also believe that the leadership of the Minerals Commission should be dissolved. And then they should also avoid the use of the military and the police to combat illegal mining in this country. The reason why I'm saying that
That's an interesting take.
Yes, the reason why I'm saying that the Minerals Commission's leadership should be dissolved is that when it is being dissolved, we'll be able to hold people accountable. And right now, the mandate should be given to the chiefs, our traditional chiefs. They should be given the mandate to combat illegal mining. And so in the community where you live, you should ensure that no illegal miners or people who claim to be miners who have licenses to come to your communities to mine, because from the central government through to the use of police, through a whole lot, it is not working.
Has been done, it looks like,
it is not working. And so if you're a chief and you have been tasked to ensure that there's no Galamsey activity in your area and that you'll be held accountable, you account to government on what you've been able to do so far, I think it will help. And, you know, the thing is, that LI you spoke about, LI 2462, that LI should be revoked or should be looked into. And then all licenses issued under that LI should be revoked. Because it is not fair. Like you rightly said, we've been talking about Galamsey since time immemorial, but still, it is still ongoing. So it's either they task the chiefs to spearhead that, you know, activity, or they go by what the Eastern Regional Minister did, the committee on regional basis. Then it will descend down to districts, then down to communities, because
I really understand, but when it comes to the role of the chiefs, right? Right now, let's say from August 2024 to just yesterday, right? We are hearing up to just in the Ashanti region alone, 8 chiefs have been destituted for their
involvement in
Galamsey. Yesterday, the Mampaso Hene was destituted by Otumfo Mpasaso Hene. Okay. Nana Mufa II.
In the Ashanti region.
Yes, in the Ashanti region. Before that, the Orim Hene has been destituted. Before that, the Rempe Hene has been destituted just for their involvement in Galamsey. Now, these are people that we had our trust in to save the environment. Look at when Queen Elizabeth came to Ghana and she was taken to the Ashanti region, what came out of her mouth was, this is the garden city of West Africa. This is the garden city of West Africa. Now, when you go and then you are driving from Accra and you reach Konongo and you are going to, let's say, even Kumasi or something in the Ashanti region, the place is so desecrated. It's so bad. When you look at the kind of destruction of property that that has gone on over there, and then now to sort of maybe allay all fears, right? Yeah. It's so close to the roadside that you even see fault lines and cracks on the road, which is not good. I went there and I wept within me that this is not the Ashanti region that I knew, because I don't play that route often. But the last time I did, it was quite an eyesore. It was really, really bad. Sometime last year when I went, they sort of tried to cover and demarcate areas that you even pass. And when you look at the destruction of water bodies, Beatrice, what we see in the videos trending online and all that, it's even like half the case. Wow. So I'm also on the line that either we set up committees, right, with people that are sort of, I could use this word, no nonsense, to sort of go and then people that do not know that particular area. For instance, we saw in the eastern region, we've seen that Abbas Sariki was also asked to go there. And you know how ruthless he is, or he's been touted to be. So now, if we sort of instill these particular people, because our institutions are failing us, we look at the Minerals Commission and how they were supposed to issue out licenses. We look at the other commissions and other Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to safeguard, because people are giving out monies. We look at the district assemblies. We look at the DCs and the MCs and all that in mining communities, and we know how one way or the other they are allegedly involved in these galamsey activities and operations. If we should sit down to watch and then say that our institutions are going to save us, then no, it's probably not going to happen. So just as the regional minister, the woman did, if we can form task forces, groups, be ruthless, go into the forest. Now
so I think that task forces would be better than those individuals you mentioned earlier. I know where you are coming from, yes, but I think
so
the right things.
Individuals that make up the task force, if we can actually set up, and then when we are done recovering the land, because these 10 acres that have been recovered from the Ashanti region, if it is going to sort of enter some rehab, because the land needs to breathe, the land needs to sort of give back or give birth again. So we have to sort of maybe set up some rehab processes to make sure that our country comes back to its life, the life that it was. Because this menace didn't start a long time.
And it looks like we talk about it, then we leave it.
Yes.
I don't know what really is happening, because when if you want to buy bottled water, you want to drink bottled water from now till your God calls you. Fair enough, but it's the same water, but is that they get the water into the bottles.
It's extra distilled and it's extra filtered.
It's serious.
But if you want to drink real mineral water, keep encouraging the lamsey. The minerals, the mercury.
Otherwise, you have to import your water, because this water from in the bottles are also from the water bodies, which are with minerals, heavy minerals. So maybe later in life we'll all have mercuries and what are the minerals? Magnesium.
Mercury, cyanide, and all those things in our.
That's serious. Even in our food. See, cocoa has brought us this far, and look at what is happening to our land.
Cocoa production is almost, it's almost at an all-time low. The cocoa trees
we are calling the authorities.
Cocoa farms are being converted to galamsey pits and all that. It's something that we need to really pay attention to, because we've continued down this trajectory. And
please, the government. In his budget, 2025 budget, we want to see what he has to do on galamsey. Please, we want to hear something from Mr. President. Let's move to our next story.
Peter wanted to.
Peter, just a second.
Yes, so even if it will take, I'm still on the traditional leaders to use. Those days, the fetish priest, we are told that if you care, yes, Noboko and the other,
all right. We need them around this time. If you touch the land,
we've reached, I think all other means possible to
all other means.
We need them.
Your point well noted. I'm sure Mr. President will try these means as well. Let's move to our second story. It's about rabies. The rise in rabies in the system is on a high, and I read the story. It says rabies cases are also on the rise in the Ashanti region, with a devastating incident involving a 12-year-old student who succumbed the disease after being bitten by a dog. The student, a junior high school pupil, was bitten on January 6, 2024, but the incident was only reported to the hospital on February 12, 2025. That's 6 days later, when her condition had worsened. This tragic event highlights the growing concern among health officials and veterinary officers in the region. According to the Ashanti Regional Veterinary Director, Dr. Mabel Abudu, many people fail to report dog bites or seek timely medical attention, contributing to the rise in cases of rabies. Dr. Abudu also emphasized the need for increased investment in the veterinary directorate to address the challenge, citing a lack of logistics, human resources, and essential support. So rabies is high. In fact, education about rabies is on the low. Seriously, people don't really know about rabies. If you ask me, I'll just say a dog bite, but I think a cat bite also causes rabies.
Yeah, even donkeys as well.
Donkeys, huh?
Yes. So it's the rabies is I'm not a medical expert, but what I'm saying is also what I've maybe read a little bit about it. It's sort of a virus that is in the animal. That's when the animal exhibits such tendencies and then the animal bites you and is not treated or is not worked on fast. It's one of these sicknesses that once you have it, it's almost like impossible to recover from if it's not treated early. So if you have a bite or anything, and the shot is not just once. You go and take the first shot.
That's the vaccinations, right?
Vaccinations, your third shot to make sure that you're okay. Although rabies in cats is like maybe one or twice in like 100 cats or so, but you shouldn't take the risks. It's better than you facing the consequences of it. So please, also we need to have, initially when growing up we had these vans, like we had these community initiatives to teach us about all these other things. But right now we claim that there are no jobs, but these things have also vanished. We were talking about town councils, tankers, before you realize you are cleaning your homes and all that. But
they
now
are no more.
They are no longer there, and we still complain that there are no jobs. So this is something that we have to really think about, and something we have to work our way around it.
Please tell your contribution.
So I side with you, and what you said that there's lack of awareness. Many people do not know about rabies, and the rise of these days Ghanaians keeping pets without knowing what goes into it. This incident could have been if the dog, the so-called dog, was vaccinated, and then if the lady also had immediate, medical care, it could have been prevented. And then these days, you be walking in town and you see young men with dogs, sometimes unkept, dirty. If you want to keep pets, you should know what goes into it. You should get proper care for them. It has become a fashion.
It's serious, especially the small ones.
Yes. You see them unkempt, dirty, they don't practice hygiene. Because they want to, pets are good. And it's good
they serve us as security, especially the dogs.
But once it becomes too much, you forget to even practice this hygiene stuff at home. You play with it, you forget to eat and all. Because, like you rightly said, we are talking of unemployment, but these avenues are, we can touch. Like growing up, I'm not old, growing up, I heard about veterinary officers going around to vaccinate these animals. But these days, you don't hear of them. But this is the time Ghanaians are also practicing. We are mimicking the Westerners, keeping pets and a whole lot. And so I would say that the Ghana Health Service should be up and doing. The government should also provide the necessary resources for the Ghana Health Service to embark on this journey. There should be awareness, educate people on some of the dangers that comes with rearing of pets and all that.
And I also want to add that the caregivers of these pets should be responsible, because some are very aggressive, like you just want to attack you for nothing. I think they said some of these are as a result of they having rabies. So they are symptoms of rabies. So we should be aware of some of these things. So that's our time for the online print review segment. Up next is the lifestyle segment. It's our food from Ghana. Please stay.